Hi there, this is Keith again, IT Teaching Guy. Today I was studying, as you can see on the screen, motherboards and their form factors. So looking at motherboards and their form factors, you'd call a motherboard a motherboard. A nickname would be a MOBO. Um, Also, they're known as main boards. And so, features that define a motherboard. And so they went over their form factor. And the definition of that is standardized design and shape. Motherboard's chipset. A chipset, it says a motherboard chipset determines the CPU and RAM. So whatever chipset you have for your motherboard, that will be used to determine what kind of RAM you use and your CPU. And then the motherboard components. Some motherboards have integrated components, and most motherboards do today, like integrated sound, graphics, and many other things. Maybe TV tuners. So you have to just check and see what your motherboard has. But components are integrated system boards, which add functionality. That's their definition there. So instead of having to put a board, a soundboard on a PCI slot, you can just put the sound. Well, the sound is already on the motherboard, but if you want higher quality sound that your motherboard doesn't have, then you'll have to upgrade. Just the same with graphics. So it's up to you. And so going on, talking about form factors, vary in size, location of components, location of mounting holders. Not all cases hold the same motherboards, so you'll have to make sure if they're compatible. And different power requirements. So, looking at the ATX form factor here, you can see the standard ATX on the screen. It's one of the largest boards. It's a 12 by 9.6 inches, and it says, for their information, the expansion slots, or the memory runs perpendicular to the expansion slots, and that's for cooling purposes. And then most ATX motherboards have 5 slots for expansion cards. And then they went over and talked about micro ATX. ATX is, I guess, little brother, you know? And so it's just a little bit smaller and a little less expansion slots, but it fits in the same case. So if you want to swap out your motherboard with a micro ATX motherboard, and it'll fit in the same case, even though it's a different size. So your mini, let's see here, your micro ATX can vary in 2 different sizes: 6.75 inches by 6.75 inches, and then 9.6 inches by 9.6 inches. And they usually have 4 slots for expansion. Then they went into mini ITX. And mini ITX is 6.7 inches by 6.7 inches, and you can see the mini ITX there. And then they have a little picture of a tiny little pen, so you can kind of see how small it is really these boards are getting. Okay, so for the mini ITX, they're used a lot of times for home theater or for small form factor systems, and can be used in ATX or micro ATX cases, so that's also a nice thing. They'll fit in the same area. Going on from there, they talked about BTX. Well, they don't have pictures of BTX on there. They have Nano ITX and Pico ITX, and I guess they don't have that maybe for the A plus test. I'm not sure. So they talked about the BTX, and the BTX was made to replace the ATX. It can't be used in the same case, but the same battery can be used which is compatible. And the reason for the BTX was just cooling. How they placed it. It says major heat component. So the major components on the motherboard that produced a lot of heat were near the air intake and the exhaust of the battery fan. And then they went on to talk about the NLX. And NLX is 8 by 10 and 9 by 13.6 inches. So that was pretty big. I think that was even, it could be even bigger than the ATX motherboard. So didn't explain much about that, and I'm not going to worry that much detail about it. If you want to learn more detail about the form factors on motherboards, it's up to you, and you can check them all out. So I just kind of want to get familiar with motherboards, the components on them, the sizes of motherboards used, and just a little bit differences. So for the A+, it doesn't go very in depth or that in detail, but you want to know some things. Then they talked about buses very quickly, about buses connecting components / devices on a motherboard using the bus circuitry. So you have all these lines, tracers on your motherboard, and that connects everything together. So they went and talked about expansion slots then. So you talked a little bit about the motherboards and their form factors, and then they wanted to mention the expansion slots that were included from PCI, Peripheral Component Interconnect, is 3 megahertz, and a 32-bit runs at 5 volts, and a 64-bit runs at 3.3 volts, and that's very important to know so you don't damage your system. PCI X is for servers. It's not to be thought to be PCI E, which is PCI extended, or Express. This is extended, that's Express. And so PCI X is for servers, and that's a 32-bit or 64-bit. That's all they really mentioned. Going on next for PCI Express, that's the main slot we use now. It's very fast. It uses serial bus. It delivers stuff in packets. It has different speeds, all the way from 1x, 4x, 8x, 16x, and 32x speeds, width of the bus, and so PCI Express is very fast and helping us deliver information, and it's used really for graphics cards and other things. And they even use the latest hard drives on your PCI Express slot, so you can get an SSD drive instead of it attaching to a SATA connection. It can attach straight to your motherboard and be even faster. It'd be really awesome. I really want to check it out someday, so we'll see. Then they talked about mini PCI for laptops, for Wi-Fi cards or modems, different things like that. Then the CNR, which is a communications network riser, and it's more of a legacy device to add extra expansion slots to your motherboard. And then they talked about the AGP card, accelerated graphics port, and that ran at speeds of 2x, 4x, and 8x, and using different voltages for each of those, so you want to be sure what you're using. And that really concludes the rest of the motherboards and the form factors. And so, but the best videos check out if you're really studying for your A+, go to freeaplus.com. Professor Messer there, James Messer, he gets you ready, like really ready for your tests. So great information. It's free. Get ready for your A+ test, get ready for your Network Plus test, think Linux and some other things. So just check it out. But thanks for listening to this. This is more of something for me to help learn the information. So if you teach it to others, you yourself will learn it even better. So, or remember it even. So, well, thank you guys. Alright, keep studying.